Hi everyone, and welcome to the channel. I hope everyone is having a fantastic day. My neck of the woods is not that great weather-wise, but that's okay, it's just part of nature and how things work. Ladies and gents, what I am about to tell you here is something that most likely you are not aware of how important it is to be aware of, in the sense that this thing will really determine a lot of things about how you live your life and why a lot of people fail on things that they set out to do in their own lives without knowing or understanding why. But this thing is something that most people know what it is, but like I said, they're not aware of the impact that it does on a person, on a psychological level, on a subconscious level, more than anything. So what is this thing that I'm talking about? Well, that is trauma. Any type of trauma, psychological trauma. And this is something that every single human being has and carries with them throughout their entire life process. Now, in order for you to understand this, you have to realize the deep repercussions of what psychological trauma does to a person on a subconscious level. So let me elaborate a little better and explain using some pretty widespread known examples of things like that. Now, if any of you have never heard of Project Paperclip or MK Ultra, mind control, things that the CIA has done throughout their years, that supposedly they don't do it anymore, which is a lie, because they understood how powerful it is to traumatize someone, and then how you can actually control that person through that trauma to basically be your puppet. I'm using this as an example for people to be able to relate. Okay? It's the best way to do it, in my opinion. Now, I'm not going to go too deep into the whole MK Ultra thing and what it is and this and that. If you're really curious about it, go do a little bit of research and you're going to find out. But they claim these things, they shelved it and they don't do it anymore, and that's a lie. There's also MK Ultra Monarch Project. It's all related, and these things came from Nazi Germany back in the day, because the Nazis did a lot of experiments with psychological how the psychology of a human being works, and they figure a lot of that stuff out. So when World War II ended, it never really ended, because a lot of these really smart and famous Nazi scientists were given asylum by the United States government, and then instead of putting them through the trials in Nuremberg, which is what they did with a few of these people, but the ones that knew these things that were important and that the government could use and weaponize, they didn't. So what they did is they gave them asylum. They gave them citizenship here and all of these things. And then under the I'm trying to think of the word, the stipulation that they would have to work for the United States government here. So this is how the CIA got all these things going. This is why NASA had Werner von Braun. These guys were all Nazis, former Nazis. And yeah, so look into it. I'm not going to go much further than this, okay? Now, look at all these famous celebrities and how weird they behave, like all the time, and it's all over the news all the time, and all these people having it can be anybody, could be an actor, could be a musician. It happens to all of them. And then they're having mental breakdowns, and sometimes they behave as they're a completely different person, like a different personality. This is what I'm talking about. These people, they are mind control through trauma and things that have been done to them. Because if you think that in order for you to get into the music business or Hollywood, you don't have to subject yourself to some of the most heinous things that you will never know. But if you do want to know, all you got to do is do a little Googling, and you're going to find out all kinds of like people talking about these things and going very deep into it, which is something I'm not going to do here. So trauma really messes a person up on a subconscious level. And a lot of the things that we do throughout our lives is based on our subconscious. We're not aware of it. So that would explain why certain types of women are always looking for a type of guy that is the guy that always ends up breaking their hearts and destroying them psychologically and damaging them beyond repair. That's part of the problem that we have today in society, and that's one of the reasons why most women hate men. Some of it has to do with the feminism indoctrination and mindset, so to speak, but it goes much further and deeper than that. Trauma will really mess a person up to some depths that it's really hard to convey and explain with words, to be honest. And the same goes to everybody, every person out there. And the most common form of trauma that we all have is family trauma, generational trauma, things that go and get passed along from generation to generation. I've made videos about this in the past, talking about how most people, most ordinary people, which is just about everybody, you know, we've all been there to one point in our lives. Those of us that are not there anymore, we finally went deep enough within ourselves to find the cause of these things and then go to the root of the problem and heal it. And I have videos where I go into that much more in depth and I explain how to deal with these things. So if you're new to the channel, first of all, welcome. And second of all, feel free to go back and watch a lot of my older videos where I talk about these things, my personal experience with it all, and how I healed some very serious things that I had about myself that came from my childhood and were generational trauma, basically. So we tend to repeat certain types of behavioral patterns that really hurt us throughout our lives. One of the most common behavioral patterns that everybody has because of the conditioning, not only through education, our parents, the school system, everything that's external, right, is the people pleasing thing that everybody does. Everybody's into the people pleasing thing. Most people are. And the ones that are not, what do? They take advantage of people who are the people pleasers. So you don't gain nothing from being a people pleaser. Trust me on that. You're only hurting yourself in the process and causing all kinds of hardships and issues for yourself in your own life and making yourself and your life miserable in the process. Because you keep trying to convince yourself that if you people please, it'll be good for you. You get promoted in your job, whatever, things like that. And it doesn't work like that. And this is very serious. A lot of people do this. And this is why most people are unhappy with themselves in their own lives, their own way, even though most people will not admit this openly, widely, loudly. They will keep it to themselves. This is how most people operate in life. Now, and this is not judging here, okay? I know what it's like because I've been there. I've lived it. Trust me. That's how we are, most of us. Now, the generational trauma that comes from family, some of it is even in our genetics, right? Genetic memory and all that stuff. That is the worst type of thing because so let me put it into context to you so you can even understand it a little bit better. And I'm probably going to end it after that. We usually do not live our lives for ourselves and pursue our own dreams and our own happiness. And it starts in the family cell. How many people do you personally know? And you could be one of those people for all we know, right? That you went into a job field of some kind because your parents wanted you to do that. Let's say your father wanted you to be a doctor or your mother wanted you to be a dentist, and you did that because of that. The reality is that most people, they choose certain things in life, including the profession, the job that they're going to have, the thing that they do for a living, right? Based on these things. Most people don't have what it takes because it takes a lot of inner strength, inner will, inner courage, and you have to be able and capable to heal yourself from certain things, to pursue the things that you really want to do in life, pursue the things that you really would love to do in life. And that's how it works. So the trauma that we all carry within ourselves, deep within our subconscious, plays a major role in how we go on throughout our lives in many, many aspects. That also includes the partner that we pick, the person that we may end up getting married. There are major implications to this. Again, I would look into Carl Jung and his works because he explains a lot of these things very in depth. It's very important, the work that some of these people did, scientifically speaking, to go to the root of these things and understand human behavior and why we do certain things the way we do, even though it's not good for us. But we never really acknowledge that because we are unaware of it. So presence plays a major role. in our lives. Because when we learn and we begin to live in presence and have awareness of these things, we completely change the rules of this game of life and how we operate here. And this is how a lot of people succeed in life and are actually truly genuinely happy and have a joyful life. And I'm not talking about, famous people like celebrities. Because if you think these people are happy, you're absolutely mistaken. That's not true. They may have a lot of money, and money doesn't give you these things. Truly. And there are a lot of people that may disagree with this. But if that's the case, they don't really understand or even know or ever felt what real joy and happiness is. I'm not talking about dopamine moments that are short-lived. I'm talking about living your life and being in a certain state of mind, being, and heart that you're always going to feel the same way about yourself and everything. And these things, money cannot give it to you. It will never be able to do that. It's like being healthy. You could be a multi-millionaire, a trillionaire for all I care, but you may have some health issues that may be genetic or whatever, that no matter how much money you have, you're never going to be able to fix that. Joy, happiness, truly, authentically, doesn't come through those means. You have to change your ways in a certain manner that it'll make your life, everything about your life is going to be different. Everything is going to feel different. And you're going to know when you get there. You will know because you will feel. And I'm going to leave this at that. Okay, so if you're curious about this, look into it. Do some research. Because it's extremely important that we heal these things within ourselves to be able to live our lives the way that I am talking about here. Like, really. And with that said, I'm going to leave this video at that. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care. Be safe. And I will catch you all on the next one, my friends. Until next time.